After the fight, he was smiling.
Yeah, he was.
Halfway across the world, though, you've got Marco Antonio Barrera.
Oh.
Don't get too riled up
All right,
yet.
go ahead.
You got Barrera, who steps into the ring with Amir Khan. Now, Amir Khan was this Olympian. He was another British hopeful. They had high hopes. His professional career was moving along perfectly. All of a sudden, he gets in there with Bredis Prescott. Oops. He suffered big oops. Oh. One of the worst knockouts I've seen in a long time. In the first round, Prescott crushed him. Yeah. Khan had come back. He had had one fight in between. This was his second fight on the comeback trail against Barrera, and I will let you speak because you got angry early with this one.
Watch this. First round action. Look at that. Look at the clash of heads. Look at it start to bleed right away. Right on the top of the head, and that's almost virtually impossible to stop bleeding from there. From that point on, this was Barrera for the next 4 rounds. Covered in blood, pouring down out of his face. And for whatever, look, this is 4th round action. They don't want to stop the fight. They let him go on. Look at them covered in blood. They wait until the 5th round. It's absolutely disgraceful that they did that, Dutchie. No. This guy busted open in the 1st round. You had any time over the next 4 rounds to say, look, this cut is too bad, can't continue. No, they wait. They wait until the 5th round starts.
Because if they did it in the first 4, it wouldn't have been an official fight, right?
It's no decision,
Remember,
right?
this is right. It is in Manchester, so they waited till the 5th.
I don't like when they do stuff
like that.
No,
you know what? You're right.
Right.
Now, Amir Khan and
look good, no problem.
Amir Khan was winning the fight. It wasn't as if Marco Antonio Barrera was the better of the 2 boxers. Amir Khan, if you were scoring the fight, you would say that he had won every round of that.
Yeah,
point,
but you're
correct?
covered in blood. Your head split open from the very 1st round. I mean, no doubt about it that Khan is winning the fight, but I don't think it was fairly competitive when you think the guy's bleeding. It's not quite fair. And you make him go 4 rounds bleeding into his eye, absorbing that punishment just so you get into the 5th round and say, okay, it's over, just for the television. That's not right when you do that. Anywhere else that happens, oh, hometown decision, why they do it? That was wrong to do that.
I hear what you're saying, and I agree with you wholeheartedly. We got more highlights for you from this past week. Vacant interim WBO cruiserweight title online. Ola Kryptonite Afolabi facing the former champ Enzo Macronelli, and there's trouble coming for Macronelli.
This was, you know, they got into a good scrap early. Macronelli started to pull ahead, but then watch this here, 9th round action. Watch the shot from Kryptonite. Oh boy, look at that shot land. Boom! Afolabi lands a vicious shot, and he gets the WBO interim cruiserweight title.
Right, Afolabi with a shocking 9th round knockout, defending WBO super featherweight champion Nikki Cookie Cook, taking on the unbeaten Roman Rocky Martinez, who was 21-0-1 with 12 KOs.
And this had the makings of a great fight as well, but ends quickly as Martinez keeps putting the pressure on Cook, and then watch him land that. He shook him a little bit with that right hand, and there's that uppercut. Left hand underneath. That hurt him. And a great win for Martinez as he stops Cook in the 4th round to win the super featherweight title.
Yeah, Martinez dethrones Cook, ranked number 4 featherweight by the WBA. Benoit Gadet, 19-1, 7 KOs, taking on Genera Tranzacos of Mexico City.
And this was a typical Benoit Gadet performance. Boxed beautifully, controlled the action, put a lot of shots together, basically controlled everything, went on to pitch a shutout over 8 rounds. He moves up to 20-1 with only 7 KOs.
Right, unanimous decision for him. Middleweight, Renan St. Just 19-1-1, 12 KOs, taking on Roberto Ruque, who was 30-2.
Ruque was so strong. I mean, St. Just hit him with some bombs, but this guy just covered up, blocked the shots. But then watch here. He's got St. Just in the corner. Boom! Oops, bad place to be. What a shot from Renan St. Just. You got to look at it again. Ruque is the one opening up, digging shots, and gets nailed. 8th round knockout, and he wins the NABA North American title. Dutch?
Ouch. TKO victory at the 227 mark of the featherweight prospect. Pierre-Olivier Cote facing Jesus Antonio Gutierrez.
And watch this, another knockout of the year candidate. Watch this left hook. Boom! Oh, boy, that one's over. They both exchanging shots. Cote lands first, and a vicious knockout in the 1st round.
Yeah, Gutierrez fell pretty much on everything. Twisted his leg, his arm. We're happy to say he was okay as Cote improves to 5-0. Arthur Abraham. By the way, you had mentioned Kelly Pavlik being the toughest puncher in the middleweight division. I don't know so much.
Yeah,
I might have to go with Arthur Abraham. He retained his title, a unanimous decision over the previously unbeaten Lawan Simon.
And in his first fight for Sauerland Promotions, former WBO world champion Layman Brewster scored a hard-fought unanimous decision over ex-European champion Michael Sprott.
Hey, a little surprised by this. Unbeaten bantamweight Nihomar Serramejo won a 12-round split decision over the former world champion Kristen Migueras to claim the WBA interim 118-pound title on Saturday.
And former WBC heavyweight champion Oleg Maskayev scored a first-round TKO.
All right, we have to take a short break. Still ahead, another heavyweight title fight, another Klitschko. This time it's Vitali's turn to defend. We're going to have a... Welcome back to the show. Middleweight champion Kelly Pavlik's third title defense will come against former junior middleweight title holder Sergio Mora, Rusty, this summer. An agreement was reached last week under which the fighters will meet in late June or July at Boardwalk Hall in Atlantic City, New Jersey. Pavlik's fought there 3 of his last 5 fights. They're talking about possible dates being June the 20th, July 18th, or July 25th.
Well, here's something for you. A man who could be in Pavlik's future is heading back to the U.S. The next title defense of undefeated IBF middleweight champion King Arthur Abraham is likely to take place in the United States in June. Abraham's management team says the goal was to give Abraham big fights in America to boost his popularity on both sides of the ocean, en route to unifying the middleweight belt.
Listen, it's going to be pretty hard for Pavlik to avoid him if they're fighting in the same continent. WBO, IBF, and IBO heavyweight champion Vladdy Klitschko says that negotiations for his fight with David Haye should come to an end within the next couple of days. Klitschko is still somewhat iffy about some of the conditions for the proposed bout with Haye, but he says that he is the opponent that he wants. The champion went on to say, though, if he can't make that fight, you know who Big Bad Vladdy wants to fight?
Your guy.
Chris Arreola.
Right. Here's this. It's finally official, Dutch. After a lengthy negotiation, Jermaine Taylor will challenge England's Carl Froch for the WBC 168-pound belt at Foxwoods Resort in Connecticut on April 25th. Froch is coming off his title win over Canadian Jean Pascal, while Taylor is relatively new to the super middleweight division. That is going to be a good one.
And Joe Calzaghe, Rusty, still undefeated. The former 168 and 170-pound world champion won a court case over his former promoter, Frankie Warren, being awarded $2 million, that's pounds, by the way, in unpaid fees, while acknowledging money was owed to Calzaghe. Warren pointed out that Calzaghe's exaggerated and fanciful claim was reduced by 1.5 million pounds. By the way, he plans to appeal. Of course he does. You know, the last time that we saw Vitaly Klitschko in the ring, and I love that nickname, Dr. Iron Fist, the big Ukrainian, he was walking right through Samuel Peter, and it was very impressive. When you consider that he had not fought in 4 years, goes in there with Sam Peter, and he takes care of business.
And Sam is considered, you know, one of the biggies in the division at that point in time.
Well, he's going to return to the ring this upcoming weekend against Juan Carlos Gomez. With more on that, here's Russ.
Needless to say, this is not the fight most fans wanted to see for Vitaly Klitschko. But it is, after all, a mandatory defense. Since his impressive comeback win over Samuel Peter, the talk went immediately to who the WBC champion would fight after disposing of Gomez. And seemingly dozens of names have been tossed around as Vitaly's next opponent. So while matchups with brash Brit David Haye and hard-hitting American Chris Arreola are a more attractive matchup on paper, the matchup with Gomez will give the American fight fans something they rarely get to see in this era of pay-per-view: a heavyweight title match on cable TV. For the first time ever, ESPN will carry a World Heavyweight Championship fight. What will they see? Likely another boxing exhibition by the ageless Klitschko. In the win over Peter, the ring rust wore off quickly, and he looked like the Vitaly of old, hammering with the jab and picking his spots with powerful combinations. Unless he can come up with something special, the 35-year-old Gomez will likely be in for more of the same.
Both gentlemen, and honestly, Samuel Peter's wide. He is a big, wide dude.
But he's this big.
But he's a little bit bigger than he's about 6'1", somewhere in there. Not small. Having said that, though, Vitaly's huge. That is a big Ukrainian dude.
And a big, well-conditioned athlete. You know, I just don't see how Gomez is going to get by this. You know, it's too skilled, powerful, good right hand, good left hooks. I like Klitschko in this one, but I think it's going to be a very entertaining fight.
Really? I hope so. I hope it's a little bit closer. I don't know. It might be a bit of a boxing lesson again there. Still ahead. They are 168 pounds of punishment. It's the best of the best when it comes to the super middleweight division. You're watching In This Corner.
This TSN program is presented in high-definition television by JVC. JVC HD, the perfect experience.
The Government of Canada has proposed new tax cuts that may benefit you. As part of Canada's Economic Action Plan, tax cuts, like the Home Renovation Tax Credit, could save you up to $1,350 on renovations completed before next February. There are also eco-energy home retrofit grants and savings for first-time home buyers. So reach out and claim them. Learn more about Canada's Economic Action Plan at actionplan.gc.ca or call 1-800-O-Canada. A message from the Government of Canada.
People think life in California is one big vacation. It's really a lot of work.
We have board meetings.
Board meetings!
Lots of board meetings. We're always playing catch-up. We're really just a bunch of pencil pushers.
We work with some real characters.
We're always working weekends.
Hey, it's a dirty job.
But someone's got to do it.
So if California seems like your kind of work,
we've got one question.
when can you start?
Make your vacation work overtime in the land of plenty. California. Find yourself here.
Still got flakes? That's your clue to switch shampoo. To Selsun Blue. Proven effective, Selsun Blue helps control and prevent flakes. Plus aloe and moisturizers keep hair looking healthy. No flakes or itch. Selsun Blue shampoo.
Got a clue? Get the blue.
From the first Aquos LCD to the world's largest, Sharp has shaped the future of LCD technology, the Aquos Limited Edition series. With a design so thin, a contrast ratio of over 1,000,000 to 1, and a picture so realistic, it will change the way you watch TV. The Aquos Limited Edition series, part of Sharp's line of 120 Hz LCD TVs.
Change your TV, change your life. Sharp.
Putting money in your pocket shouldn't be so hard, especially when it's yours to begin with, like your tax refund. H&R Block's expertise in new tax law changes could mean more money back than you think. We make taxes easy. Visit your nearest H&R Block today.
Welcome back to the show. There are 168 pounds of nasty. They are the best of the best when it comes to the super middleweight division. Here's number 8.
Sven Ottke, champion from 1998 to 2003. Dutchie, Ottke made 17 successful title defenses. A talented, gifted boxer. In 34 career wins, Ottke scored only 6 wins by knockout.
Number 7.
Chris Eubanks, one of the famed British class of super middleweights, which dominated the 1990s. A stylish, classy warrior, Eubanks held the WBO title for 4 years and made a whopping 14 title defenses.
Number 6.
Nigel Benn, arguably the most exciting super middleweight of all time. A power-punching wrecking machine. Ben thrilled the boxing world with his epic matches against Eubanks. Sadly, Ben would be the other man in the ring that night on that ill-fated fight against Gerald McClellan.
Number 5.
Mikael Kessler, a perfect fighting machine. The Viking Warrior appeared to be the most dominant super middleweight in the world until his meeting with the crafty Calzaghe. With Calzaghe retired, Kessler may once again regain the promise he once had.
Number 4.
Steve Collins, Dutchie, after 2 failed attempts at the middleweight title, Collins found greatness 1 division higher. As WBO champion for 2 years, Collins made 7 successful defenses and ended the era of both Ben and Eubanks.
Number 3.
James Toney, although he held the title for about a year, Toney made 3 successful defenses before eating his way out of the division. While it's safe to say that his numbers don't match up with those previously mentioned, his talent, Dutchie, was truly phenomenal.
Yeah, Freddie Roach said he's the most talented fighter he's ever worked with. Number 2.
Roy Jones Jr., another fighter whose stint at super middleweight was brief, albeit exciting. Jones held the title for 2 years and made 5 successful defenses before moving up. Undoubtedly the most purely gifted fighter of his time.
And number 1.
Joe Calzaghe, world champion for over 10 years. Calzaghe would make 18 successful defenses before moving up. A hard-working southpaw, Calzaghe faced 7 world champions in his career. The standard in this weight class is Joe Calzaghe.
Russ Anber's Outstanding 8 is brought to you by the fresh, great taste of Arby's. One bite will have you saying, I'm thinking Arby's.
You know, Rusty, it might be easy to get back in the saddle if you're playing football or basketball or hockey or whatever the sport may be, but when you suffer a devastating knockout, You never really know. For some boxers, they never get back in the saddle. They are never the same. Is that the way you see it from your soapbox?
In a strange twist of fate, two fighters attempted to answer one of the cruelest questions in all of boxing. While it's virtually inevitable, every fighter at one point or another will suffer a crushing knockdown, a sudden one-punch KO, or absorb more punishment than ever before. With that comes the most difficult of all questions. Will he ever be the same? Ironically, this past weekend, on opposite sides of the ocean, two fighters, very diametrically opposed in their respective situations, faced that very question. A few short months ago, both Amir Khan and Lucian Bute suffered boxing's cruelest fate. For Bute, who had executed his plan to perfection against the relentless pressure of boxing's Iron Man, Librado Andrade, his world came crumbling down with literally seconds remaining in his bout. While he made it to his feet to retain his title, for all intent and purposes, he was out. For Amir Khan, a highly touted prospect, his fight against powerful Bredis Prescott was less than a minute old before it was all over. This past weekend, within less than 24 hours of each other, both fighters had to deal with the barrage of questions which came from all angles about their ability to return to their once outstanding form. Outside of who will win, it might be the most speculative question in all of boxing. It's an undeniable fact that every fighter will, at one point or another, and usually when it's least expected, face that baptism by fire. As certain as that is, it is a guaranteed uncertainty as to how the fighter will handle it or recover from it. If we look back at just a few cases, we'll find that Joe Louis returned better than ever after being beaten and knocked dead by Max Schmeling. Muhammad Ali tripped over Henry Cooper's left hook and became champion. He was again felled by the monstrous hook thrown by Frazier and again came back to win the title. As well, Lennox Lewis never showed any signs of mental weakness after twice suffering one-punch KO losses. The opposite examples, however, are just as glaring. After suffering back-to-back KO losses, Roy Jones became a mere shell of his former self. Former heavyweight champion of the world, Big John Tate, never recovered from his one-punch last-minute KO loss to Mike Weaver. And of course, Canadian fight fans will also remember both Sean O'Sullivan and Willie DeWitt's KO losses. Sadly, neither fighter was ever the same. Boxing is filled with examples like this at both ends of the spectrum. However, this weekend, the focus was on two fighters returning from two very different situations, looking to recapture past glory, silence the critics, and erase the seeds of doubt. For both, this weekend was mission accomplished.
Well done, Rusty. Still ahead. He will answer your questions in Final Flurry. You're watching In This Corner.
In This Corner on TSN is brought to you by the fresh, great taste of Arby's. One bite will have you saying, I'm thinking Arby's.
Going out together never looked so good. Introducing the all-new spacious Elantra Touring. Smart is in.
You're the sugar, I'm the spice. Yeah, we fit real nice. You're the singer, I'm the song. A-side, B-side, we get along. We'll keep trying, but that won't pull us apart. Yeah, well, they don't know that you got me from the start. Oh yeah.
JVC Averio camcorder with 7-megapixel resolution to catch all the action. JVC Averio, the perfect shot every time. JVC.
It's time to vote! These four outstanding coaches are vying for the title of Chunky MVC Most Valuable Coach. Stephen Burke, Paracycling, Calgary, Alberta. Larry Harlow, Women's Football, St. John, New Brunswick. Corey Robinson, Wrestling, Halifax, Nova Scotia. And Bob Clark, Girls Basketball, Toronto, Ontario. Go to tsn.ca/chunky to vote now, and you could win a year's supply of Campbell's Chunky Soup. Real food, recommended by real coaches.
In this corner's final flurry is brought to you in part by the rugged 2009 Dodge Ram. Never back down.
Welcome back to the show. There's the bell. Let's get at it.
What you got
Final
for
flurry. First question comes from Ivan Montiel. He goes, Amir Khan beat an old fighter past his prime and Marco Antonio Barrera due to a cut. In his opinion, unless Khan ends up beating Bredis Prescott, he doesn't belong with the elite, does he?
Well, there's no doubt about it that he must face Prescott again at some point. You can't have on your record a fight against a guy that you lost to in the first minute of the first round and not fight him in a rematch again. That'll forever haunt him. He has to erase that. But as far as beating Khan is concerned, Ivan, and Dutch, I told you this, and I'm still pumped about this since the weekend, since it happened. I don't think that this fight really proved anything. The fact that you were able to beat a blinded Marco Antonio Barrera who had blood pouring into his eyes as a result of a headbutt, I don't really think proved anything.
I know, but you knew last week, you had said on the show last week, there's a reason why they're bringing over the babyface assassin. The Khan's camp knows that he's at the end, you know, of
Dutchie,
his
had the
career.
same situation occurred without the cut, and he stops him in 5 rounds, no problem.
Yeah, I know.
But
I hear what
all
you're
that
saying.
is wiped clean as a result of the headbutt.
All right, this one comes from Drew in Red Deer, Alberta. He wants to know, he goes, I watched Marquez versus Pacquiao, Marquez versus Diaz, and I noticed Nacho Bernstein using what looks like a string he's putting it in the cuts of his fighters. What's that about?
You know what? I don't know. I mean, I've been in this game 30 years, and I don't know what that is. The best that I can surmise as to what it is like some kind of a string or gauze-like substance that's probably soaked in adrenaline 1-1000, and they use that to act as the coagulant, although to me it just doesn't seem like it's absorbent enough, especially with the size of the cut that Bernstein was working on with Marquez. So, I mean, I just don't get that. I mean, to me, you'd be better off just taking a good thick Q-tip or gauze pad and using that, which will at least coagulate and stop the bleeding instead of that little thing, the little string, which to me doesn't absorb anything. He's pushing it in with his thumb. There's nothing absorbing in that, nothing to soak up the blood. So I have no idea. I'm going to try to find that out. I'm going to call Ray Chavez and ask him.
I'm pretty curious myself. The next question comes from Greg Sid in Calgary. He wants to know, as a trainer, did you see any mistakes from Bute? He thought he was a little flat-footed against Zuniga, or is that because Zuniga was so slow? Is that the reason why?
You know what? If there was any mistakes, Dutchie, you really couldn't tell because, I mean, it was executed to perfection. I think going 4 rounds with a puncher like Zuniga and not getting hit once, I think you did pretty good, no? I don't think you really have any
This one comes from Alexis Olivo, and this is a fight we wanted to see, and it's a fight that Juan Manuel Marquez, your boy, had wanted too. Okay, you got Juan Manuel in his prime. You got Marco Antonio Barrera in his prime. Who wins?
Do I ever pick against Juan Manuel Marquez?
No, you don't.
Okay, I'm not picking. I'm not doing it this time either. I like Juan Manuel, and I think that's why Barrera or Morales, neither of them fought him at that time because I think they thought the same thing.
Right, you're talking about 2000 somewhere in there, 99. Yeah, they did dodge him a little bit.
I like Juan Manuel.
That's going to do it for this edition. Make sure you join us next week. Thanks for you.